Have you ever, like, stood outside on a really clear, dark night, looked up at those millions of stars, and just felt incredibly small?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a nearly universal human experience, right?
Right.
We've all had that exact existential moment where the sheer scale of the cosmos just, completely crushes our sense of importance.
Yeah, totally. It feels like physics and time are just sort of rolling along, and we're totally irrelevant to the process. Like, we're just this tiny speck.
Just along for the ride.
Exactly. But what if, according to a really fascinating framework of Eastern philosophy, the exact opposite is true? What if the universe literally, like, needs you in order to function?
It's a huge shift in perspective.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. Today we are exploring some incredible concepts from Dason Thought. Specifically, we're looking at a transcript of a lecture on yin-yang and the five elements, and we're pairing that with some scholarly research from Choi Won Hyuk.
And our mission for this deep dive is to explore what I can really only describe as a radical cosmic paradigm shift. We're going to unpack these profound ideas, specifically the concepts of Guanwang and Inzhong.
Yes, which are just, they're mind-bending concepts.
They really are. We're exploring the premise that humanity's ultimate destiny isn't to just, sit back and be saved by higher powers. It's actually to graduate into adulthood and become the ultimate managers of the universe itself.
Which is just a massive claim. I mean, it completely flips the script on how we usually view our place in the world.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this, because before we can talk about managing the cosmos, we obviously have to understand our foundational relationship to it, right?
Right. You have to start at the base level.
Exactly. And this framework introduces our role through a really striking paradox in the text. It starts with the idea that things naturally prosper in heaven, entirely independent of humans.
Yeah. And, on the surface, that sounds exactly like that feeling of insignificance you just described.
Well,
It implies that the grand machinery of the cosmos, like the orbits of planets, the changing of seasons, it just hums along perfectly fine without us.
right, like we aren't necessary at all.
Exactly. But then comes the plot twist.
The big one.
Because the very next philosophical premise in the text is, however, if there are no humans, there is no heaven and earth.
And honestly, I have to push back on that a little bit.
Go for it.
Because logically, a black hole is still going to have gravity even if I'm not there to look at it, right? The Earth was orbiting the sun long before humans existed, so why does the universe literally need me?
It is a great question. And it gets to the core of this concept called Jungian.
Yun.
Right. Jungian translates to using people, or the idea that humans are meant to be used by the cosmos. To really grasp this, you have to separate the idea of mere physical existence from actualization and meaning.
Okay, I'm with you.
Think of a grand piano.
Oh, I like this.
Right, so the wood, the steel strings, the hammers, they all exist. The physical laws of acoustics and tension, they exist whether anyone is in the room or not.
Right, the physics are just there.
Exactly. But without a pianist to actually sit down, recognize those laws, and apply them, the
Right.
piano is really just a heavy piece of furniture. It's totally silent. It has potential, but no actualization.
Ah, I see. So without the human mind to process and harmonize it, there's no music. The potential is just, it's wasted.
Precisely. In this framework, heaven and earth didn't create humans just by some random biological accident. They created humans because they strictly need an operator.
They need the pianist.
Exactly. The universe is essentially incomplete without humanity there to recognize its law and bring them into harmony. The philosophy actually describes the universe without us as a tomb.
A tomb. Wow, that is a bleak word for it.
Right. It's an empty, silent shell. The research points out that the passage of time without a consciousness to experience it is just an empty shadow.
That makes me think of an analogy. It's like a parent who builds this massive, incredibly complex family business. They didn't build it just to look at it or just to prove they could.
Right. They built it for a reason.
Exactly. They built it specifically to hand it over to their child to run. The business, all the infrastructure, the rules, the assets, it exists for the child to eventually step up and manage.
That is an excellent way to frame it. You, the listener, you aren't some random byproduct of cosmic dust. You are the essential, intended operator of the whole system. The universe is the family business, and humanity is the heir.
But, I mean, just like in any family business, you don't just toss the keys to the warehouse to a toddler, right?
Definitely not a good idea.
Right. If we were born to run the universe, we obviously have to be trained first. And that brings us to humanity's evolutionary phases, which this framework maps out in a really fascinating way. It looks at traditional religions as literal stages of human development.
Yeah, it breaks down our developmental stages by comparing them to the natural process of human growth. And it aligns those stages with major spiritual traditions. It basically argues that these ancient philosophies weren't just random belief systems, they were our cosmic education.
So let's walk through that because the logic here is just fascinating. It starts with the stage of Pote, which means conception in the womb. And it maps that stage to Taoism. Why Taoism?
Well, think about what Taoism fundamentally focuses on. It is all about the void, the qi, the raw, unformed energy of the universe.
The formless stuff.
Right. It's deeply internal and focuses on the genesis of life and aligning with the silent way of nature. That is exactly what is happening in the womb during conception. It's the gathering of raw energy before a clear form is entirely established. It's humanity in its most embryonic spiritual state.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So then we move to the next stage, Yangsong, which means nurturing the form or raising the body. And this one is mapped to Buddhism. How does Buddhism act as our cosmic nurturing phase?
So, once a child is born, what is the single most important thing?
Nurturing them, obviously. Keeping them alive.
Exactly. Feeding, protecting, developing compassion. Buddhism, at its core, is a deeply nurturing philosophy. It focuses on ending suffering, developing profound compassion for all living things, and cultivating the mind.
Like taking care of the emotional and spiritual body.
Right. It's about taking that raw spiritual infant and teaching it how to process pain, how to care for others, and how to stabilize its own internal world. It nurtures the spiritual form of humanity.
Okay, so we are conceived in the raw energy of Taoism. We are nurtured by the compassion of Buddhism. And then we reach the third stage, which is Yokde. And that translates to dressing and bathing, like preparing to go out into the world. And that's mapped to Confucianism.
Yes, because when a child has grown and is ready to leave the house and actually interact with society, they have to get dressed. They have to learn manners, respect, structure.
Right, they can't just run around wild.
Exactly. Confucianism is all about social order, rituals, filial piety, knowing your place in a structured society. It is humanity putting on the clothes of civilization so we can function together without total chaos.
I just love how those fit together. But, what really stands out to me is that in all three of those stages, being in the womb, being nurtured, being dressed by your parents, you are fundamentally dependent. You aren't really in charge of yourself yet.
And that is the crucial takeaway from the source material. Historically, humans have been in a state of reliance. We were cosmic children needing guidance and protection. There's actually a brilliant linguistic detail in the research that illustrates this perfectly. Consider the common Buddhist chant Namu, as in, Namu Amida Butsu.
Right, yeah, you hear that chant very often in East Asian traditions. What does it actually signify in this context?
Conceptually, the word Namu translates to taking refuge in or relying on something external. For centuries, humanity's spiritual posture has been one of reliance. We relied on gods. We relied on external salvation. We prayed for blessings from higher powers to fix our problems. Because, as children, that's what you do. When you're overwhelmed, you turn to your parents and say, "Help me."
Wait, let me make sure I'm wrapping my head around this. Is this framework arguing that these profound ancient religions, like these foundational pillars of human history, were basically just our cosmic preschool and middle school? Are they saying they're obsolete now?
It's not that they are obsolete, it's that they're foundational. You don't throw away what you learned in preschool, right?
Right. You still need to know how to share.
Exactly. Learning compassion, learning structure, those lessons were absolutely vital. Traditional religions provided our essential moral foundation, but the argument the text makes is that you aren't supposed to stay in middle school forever. Eventually, you have to graduate. And that brings us to the ultimate, final stage of human development.
Guanwang.
Guanwang. Okay, let's break that word down because the imagery here is so powerful. So Guan refers to the crown, or specifically the traditional hat worn at a coming-of-age ceremony in East Asian culture.
Oh, like the gat.
Yes, exactly. It physically signifies that you are no longer a child, you are an adult. And Wang means prosperous, thriving, or powerful, kind of like the sun at its absolute peak.
So it literally means putting on the adult hat and stepping into your prime.
Precisely. The era of Guanwang means the age of relying entirely on external gods to save us is over. It is humanity's time to put on the adult hat, step up, take full responsibility, and make our own decisions. We're graduating.
That is just such an empowering shift in perspective. You aren't supposed to sit in the passenger seat of the universe forever, asking, are we there yet?
Yeah.
Or waiting for some higher power to take the wheel. You are supposed to eventually take the wheel.
Right.
But that raises a pretty big structural question for me. Now that we've grown up, what exactly is our role? Because if heaven and earth are these massive, powerful forces, why do they actually fail if we don't take the wheel?
To understand why the universe fails without us, we have to look at a very specific visual symbol from the text, the Samtaeguk.
Okay, so most people know the standard Taeguk, or the yin-yang symbol. The circle with the two interlocking shapes, usually black and white, or red and blue. It represents the duality of heaven and earth, yang and yin. But this framework argues that a two-part binary universe is inherently flawed, right?
It does. Think about the nature of a binary system. If you only have heaven, which is yang, represented by red, and earth, which is yin, represented by blue,
Yeah,
you have a system that is fundamentally based on opposition.
like a tug of war.
Exactly. It's a seesaw. Even if heaven and earth manage to perfectly balance each other and achieve a temporary state of peace, which the text calls a state of te, that balance is incredibly fragile.
Because they're just pushing against each other.
Right. A binary system always carries the inherent risk of reverting to conflict and struggle because it's just two opposing forces locked together. One shift in weight, and the seesaw slams into the ground.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The Samtaeguk completely changes the game. It isn't a circle with two parts. It adds a third element, represented by the color yellow. And that yellow element represents humanity.
Yes, humanity provides the necessary third pillar to the cosmic structure. That third element brings ha, which translates to harmony. Without humanity, heaven and earth are locked in that eternal, precarious binary.
It's just stuck.
Just stuck. But when humans step into their rightful adult role, they act as the ultimate mediator. They act as the fulcrum for the seesaw. They harmonize the raw energies of heaven and earth.
I came across an analogy for this color dynamic in the source text that I think illustrates it perfectly. If you only have red ink and blue ink, you can only ever make shades of purple, right? You are trapped in a closed loop. You're fundamentally limited.
Exactly.
But the very second you introduce the third primary color yellow, you unlock infinite possibilities. You can mix those three to create literally any color in existence. Humanity's the yellow ink.
That is a beautiful way to understand it. Humanity is the yellow ink. By stepping into our mediating role, we unlock the infinite, vibrant potential of the universe. We take it from a rigid binary into a state of endless creation. And when we achieve this, we enter the era of Injan.
Injan, which means supreme human dignity.
Correct. Injan is the paradigm where humans are elevated to the status of Shinin, meaning divine humans. We are no longer subservient, cowering beneath the heavens. We are standing shoulder to shoulder with them. This establishes the three realms, the firm, permanent establishment of heaven, earth, and humanity working together in perfect equilibrium.
Okay, I am entirely on board with the idea of being a divine human. I mean, it sounds great.
Sign me up, Brett.
Seriously. But it also raises a very practical, almost intimidating question. We know we are the adults in the room now. We know we are the yellow ink creating harmony. But what is our actual day-to-day job? Like, if I am a cosmic adult managing the universe, what is actually on my to-do list?
This brings us to a massive shift in how we view our responsibilities, moving to a concept called Cheonhasa. Let's look at how human concerns have historically scaled up. Most of the time, we're focused on gasa, which are simply household affairs, taking care of our immediate family, paying the bills.
Right, the day-to-day grind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As civilization grew, some people focused on kuksa, which are national affairs politics, running a country.
But Cheonhasa goes beyond both of those.
Yes. Cheonhasa translates to managing universal affairs. It is the ultimate job description of a mature humanity.
Managing universal affairs? I mean, how does a human being even begin to do that? I can barely manage my inbox on a Monday. What are the actual mechanics of managing the universe?
Well, the philosophy breaks down the mechanics into a three-step process. First, you must achieve Sangtong Shanman. This means mastering or deeply understanding the patterns of heaven. Think of this as understanding the macro forces, time, weather, astronomy, the vast unseen rhythms of the cosmos.
Okay, so you have to understand the sky. You have to look up.
Right. Look up and understand. Second, you have to achieve Hadoljeri. This means mastering the principles of the earth. This is the practical material reality. What soil is fertile? Where is the water? What are the geographic and physical resources available to us?
So you understand the macro forces above and the material realities below.
Exactly. And once you understand both, You perform the third step, Zhengqilensa. This is effectively managing human affairs to align with those cosmic realities. You act as the bridge, applying the patterns of heaven to the resources of Earth for the benefit of humanity.
There is actually a physical ritual described in the research that embodies this perfectly. It's called the Biapa bow.
Yes, the Biape is a ritual bow where practitioners physically mime this exact cosmic job description. It is incredibly intentional. First, they reach their hands up as if literally grabbing the power and authority of heaven, and they pull it down to their shoulders.
So they're gathering the macro forces.
Exactly. Then they sweep their hands low to the ground, gathering up the vital material energy of the earth, and they bring it all together, centering it right in their chest, in the human heart.
Oh, wow.
It is a physical manifestation of humanity acting as the conduit, the meeting point between heaven and earth.
It's so visceral. You aren't bowing in submission. You aren't begging. You are actively gathering the forces of the universe to put them to work. And the research provides this ultimate historical prototype for what this looks like in practice, right? The legendary Emperor Yao.
Right. Emperor Yao is a deeply revered figure in ancient Chinese history and in this philosophical framework. And what's fascinating is why he is revered. Yao didn't leave behind, grand physical monuments. He didn't build massive castles. He didn't conquer neighbors to build an empire. And he didn't leave behind some brutal legal code.
Right. His mind-blowing achievement, according to the text, was that he discovered time. He achieved Sangtong Chunmun, understanding the patterns of heaven by observing the 28 constellations and the movements of the Big Dipper. He basically figured out celestial mechanics. He created the calendar.
And crucially, he didn't just hoard that knowledge. He didn't keep the secrets of the stars to himself to, act like a wizard and maintain power over the masses. He practiced Gyeong Suinshi, which means he respectfully and reverently taught this knowledge of time to humanity. He acted as the ultimate manager.
And this is where it all really clicks into place for me. Because why is a calendar so magical? By giving humans the concept of time and seasons, he allowed them to sync up with the Earth's cycles. He essentially enabled the invention of systematic agriculture.
Exactly.
He took the chaos of the changing seasons and turned it into predictable harmony. He connected heaven's patterns to Earth's resources to feed all of humanity. That is Chionhasa managing universal affairs in action.
He perfectly mediated between the celestial and the terrestrial. And in doing so, he elevated human civilization. He didn't dominate. He harmonized. And that raises a deeply important question for us today, especially when we look at how we educate people and what we prioritize in modern society.
Yeah, the research gets pretty critical of modern education here. It points out that schools today largely just teach people how to chase salary and status, what the text terms base utility. So how does looking at a figure like Emperor Yao shift what we should actually be striving for in our daily lives? Because, I'm not going to invent the calendar. How do I do Chionhasa today?
It is a profound critique of where we put our energy, because if our ultimate destiny is Guanwang cosmic adulthood and our job is Chionhasa managing the universe, then spending our entire lives merely chasing a slightly higher salary or obsessing over a better job title is, frankly, it's beneath us.
Yeah.
It's infantile. It's staying in the sandbox. Doing Chionhasa today means moving past pure self-interest. It means looking at your sphere of influence, your family, your workplace, your community, and asking, how can I act as the yellow ink here? How can I understand the larger forces at play, recognize the resources on the ground, and arrange them to create harmony for everyone?
It's the difference between playing zero-sum games where you just try to win and playing infinite games where you try to elevate the whole system. True spiritual maturity means looking beyond your own immediate comfort. It's about taking responsibility for the harmony of your environment.
Precisely. If we are truly meant to be the yellow center of the Samtaguk, bringing the red of heaven and the blue of earth into perfect balance, we have to think bigger than just base utility. We have to think universally.
Man, so we have gone on quite a journey today. We started by looking at that feeling of being small, insignificant, and dependent, acting as cosmic children, relying on external forces to save us. And we've seen how this philosophical framework just completely upends that worldview.
We have. We've explored how humanity is destined for Guanwang. We are the cosmic adults who put on the crown. We are the essential third element that completes the Semtaguk, turning a volatile binary tug-of-war into infinite, harmonious possibilities.
We are the heirs to the family business, entering the era of Injon supreme human dignity. Our job isn't just surviving or asking the universe to fix things for us. Our job is actively managing universal affairs to elevate everything around us. It is a staggering amount of responsibility, but it is also like the ultimate form of empowerment.
It really is. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Earlier, we discussed the idea that without humans to recognize it, the passage of time is just an empty shadow, and the universe is a dormant piano. Emperor Yao brought the concept of time to life simply by observing it, understanding it, and sharing it. He woke time up.
He made it real for.
He did. So as you go about your day, consider this. What other hidden, invisible forces in our universe, or even just in your own daily life, are sitting dormant right now? What potentials in your community, your career, or your relationships are acting as empty shadows, just waiting for you to finally grow up, put on the adult hat, recognize them, and put them to use?
Wow. What a powerful question to end on. It really makes you look at your daily choices completely differently. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking up, keep asking questions, and we'll catch you next time.